My name is Dr. Saarthak Bakshi. I run a chain of fertility centers across North India, Nepal, Bangladesh. I believe in every business. Everyone's journey is always a roller coaster. There's nothing easy. There's nothing difficult also about it. I mean, it's your ups and downs, which is part of every journey. Your mind gives up a lot of time. And that's where, when it picks up, is because I always want to do what I'm passionate about.
In this episode of the Crazy Careers podcast, we have Dr. Saarthak Bakshi, healthcare entrepreneur and CEO of RISAA IVF. From building one of the India's leading IVF chains to mentoring health tech startups, Dr. Bakshi shares raw insight on entrepreneurship and the future of healthcare. Hello, Dr. Saarthak. I welcome you to the Crazy Careers podcast. Thank you so much for joining us in today.
Thank you.
So, before we begin, would you mind introducing yourself, letting us know about your journey so far and also the work that you do?
Sure. So my name is Dr. Saarthak Bakshi. I run a chain of fertility centers across North India, Nepal, Bangladesh. We have been helping couples get to parenthood, achieve, have a baby when they have been trying for such a long time. It's a very noble thing that we do. And we're extremely happy that we've been able to provide happiness to so many infertile couples that have been not been blessed with parenthood, and they have literally been trying whatever they can. They've gone to all temples, they've gone to all babas, they've gone to all ashrams. They have knocked on each and every door that they can, and finally when they come to us and when we are able to give them success, that feeling is not describable. That feeling is not even tellable. I am sure that once you achieve parenthood, anybody that achieves parenthood can actually imagine that what a person goes through when they have the tiniest of hands and feet when they hold them. So it is completely mesmerizing and stupendous when you're able to give happiness and to that level.
Right, right. So, yes, I mean, I just want to know about the journey a little bit. Like, how did you end up building one of the India's top IVF chain?
So the journey has been very learning. I believe in every business. Everyone's journey is always a roller coaster. There's nothing easy. There's nothing difficult also about it. I mean, it's your ups and downs, which is part of every journey. And similar, my journey has been the same thing. My parents are doctors. I'm not a doctor myself. So when I started this fertility center with my mother, so I was completely new. I'm still, I would say, at a nascent stage. But when we started 11 years ago, so I'm completely unaware about what IVF is. Like if I'm talking to you, I'll ask you what IVF is. You would not know in vitro fertilization, what's a test tube baby, the common man term. Test tube baby, मतलब actually में क्या test tube के अंदर baby होता है. So there's nothing related to test tube about that. What happens in a lab? What are the equipments? What are the process? What does the person undergo into? What is fallopian tube blockage? All of those medical jargons were completely new to me. So whenever anybody starts their journey, first thing is grasping knowledge, taking knowledge, and understanding the market. And that's what I say when I meet anyone who wants to start their journey. They just don't blindly start the journey. First, you have to gain the relevant amount of knowledge. Experience will come over time. Experience would come when you start on that journey, and your life will keep teaching you. Your business, your pitfalls, your ups and downs will teach you a lot. But unless you are aware about what you're doing and you're technically adept or whatever you're doing, even if you're driving a truck, if you want to go from A to B point, unless you know the route, unless you know what is truck maintenance, what the driver can do, what can go wrong, and that is a little bit of technical knowledge you require in every instance of what you're doing. So when I started, I had to gain that technical knowledge. I had to undergo embryology courses myself. I went for training myself. I used to sit with doctors in their OPDs to understand. And, that amount of knowledge is only what has helped me to grow. So when we started with our first center in Delhi itself, which is our main center. And then I had to create a business model which is bootstrapped. So even if you don't have capital money, or you have to put all the money from your pocket, so what would be the best business model that I can help expanding, putting my own money? And there where I started a shop in shop model where I would outsource the IVF centers of other hospitals, any multi-speciality hospital like the big Fortis, Max, Apollos of the world. So they would not focus on IVF primarily because first of all, they IVF is a daycare procedure, and most of the hospital works on, inpatient department or patient getting admitted into the hospital. IVF does not need that, so their focus was not on that. Secondly, there's no insurance, there is no schemes, there is no CGHS, ECHS, or nothing. So every patient has to pay out of the pocket expenses. So you require a lot of marketing for that. It's a lot of success driven. So it's completely opposite to the hospital model, an IVF center or any elective surgery. If I have to really put it in very simple term, it's an elective procedure. I can take it as per my need. Whereas a hospital requirement is not as per your need, it's mostly related to, oh, you require a surgery, there is something wrong, you immediately need to get to the best hospital or the nearest hospital. There's either trauma, there either some sort of things, there is chest pain, something, whatever there. So you just go in there, you have your insurance kick in and all of that. But IVF works on a very different process. If I haven't had a baby myself, say for 5 years, then even if it's 5.5 years, there's not going to be a big difference, or if it's 6 years, I've been trying for 3 years more, so 3 years, 5 months again won't make a difference. So we completely differ from a normal hospital model or a healthcare model, and therefore the hospitals would never focus on fertility or IVF. And hence they were always ready to outsource the IVF department. And that's the model where I kicked in, that I already have the infrastructure, administration, and a lot of other infrastructure requirements I don't need to take care of. I will come with my technical expertise, I'll come with my equipment, I'll come with my marketing, I'll do all of that. But I don't want the hassle of an operational setup, or I need to set up, I need to look at it. So that was already taken care by the hospital. Plus, since it's healthcare, so I would get a lot of other benefits also. So that's where we expanded into 12, 13 IVF centers like that. And that has been my learning throughout. One of the business models that I've started is through that. The other learnings are immense. I can go on and on about it, what needs to be done, what have I learned. But just to tell you that how did we end up expanding is through this business model, and obviously through collaborative partnerships with a lot of other gynecologists that we have done over the year. So growing, I would say, is always dependent on how successful your outcomes are in terms of how much happiness can we give. So every world has a happiness index, where India does not lie in the top 100, I believe. So it's Iceland and all the Nordic countries are there, which are in the happiness index. So our purpose of, if you are asking, how are you able to grow? We were always used to say the happiness index of patients, instead of saying positive pregnancy outcomes, we always have this happiness index where we go that each patient, if you're seeing 100 patients in a month, just for example, so is the happiness index 70, 50, 80? And unless that happiness index keep climbing month on month, that's our growth, and that's how we've been able to measure growth and keep growing. If we are not able to go beyond the happiness index of 75% over a month, then we are not doing something right, and we need to go back to the drawing board. And that's one of the key factors that has helped us or enabled us to go consistently.
Right, absolutely. So you mentor a lot of health tech startups. So, what is that cool startup or idea that you have come across recently?
So, yes, apart from the chain of fertility centers that run, I also run an angel syndicate called Neo's Angels, where we invest into multiple startups. I've personally invested into 35 plus startups till now. First of all, it seems really cool that, startups, and the word startup itself has become, I don't know, not cool anymore, but back in the day, 4 or 5 years ago, everybody wanted to do a startup because, just because it sounds cool. You can't say that, oh, I'm working in Infosys, I'm working in HCL, I'm working for HUL. That wasn't cool. So when you say, oh, I have my own thing, I have my own startup, even if you're running a cloud kitchen and you're delivering food on Zomato, Swiggy, but it was more cooler to say. So there was a misnomer going on. And speaking to all these startups, the best thing about it, and especially into healthcare startups, since I am associated with healthcare, I could definitely see that one of the biggest gap is a lot of healthcare startups start without talking to the doctors. So you are a patient. Most of the healthcare startups would be solving something for the patient. Oh, patient's documents are not there. Patient has to wait for a doctor for a long time. Patient needs to, have their diagnostic blood test going on. They're not knowing where to get that done. Their x-rays, their OPD schedules, which is the right doctor. Can they do a teleconsultation, video conferencing, if they need to consult a doctor in America for a second opinion, and all of that. So everything was revolving around the patients, which is fine. But they forgot the key component of a doctor, which you require for everything to work on successfully. So they've taken
Yeah.
everything granted. If there's a video consultation, so we have created all the infrastructure, and they're thinking that a doctor is very available and adept, like having this podcast. Anybody, I can just click on a button, and all the this portal that you have been able to do or I have been able to do, because I'm a little tech savvy, get on here, speak, check the mic, avaz, and all of that things that you do before getting on this call. Doctors are not adept, they're not trained, and nobody consults the doctor in this infrastructure. And that's what been the biggest
Yeah.
gap, is that if you really want a doctor to actually imbibe this infrastructure and come on board, because they're one of the most important persons for your app to be successful, for your idea to be successful, nobody's consulting them. It's always the patient's needs, or it's always the other things, like pharmacy and everything. The doctor's prescription will be uploaded to the pharmacy, and they will figure everything out, and they will give everything. But again, nobody's consulting them. So that was the biggest gap I saw, that instead of thinking, how are you making it so successful for the customer or patient or the person who's going to use, make all the components of the healthcare, whatever gap that you're doing, into the system, and then only you can. So the cool thing these days is obviously generative AI, and we get a lot of startups where you're trying to diagnose the simple little things without getting a call into a doctor. I would not say the right thing, but a voice-based healthcare app, where you're constantly like, oh, I'm having a headache. It's on the upper right side of the head. Instead of here, it's in the middle. You can click an app. If it's on the right side, if it's in this part of the hair or this part, you click, and then you're further giving more prompts, like a chat GPT kind of, probably based on top of it. The headache is little painful. On a scale of 1 to 10, I will rate it 7. And and keep giving prompts, and the person is thinking that they will obviously get the answer, that is it a migraine, is it has to be taken a paracetamol, or is there an aneurysm in the brain and you require surgery. So that was the cool thing that probably I heard, but I could never figure it. Our healthcare industry really works that you physically need to end up to the doctor. So the doctor actually needs to check you up, see, measure your parameters, no matter what amount of technology that is there. But the flaw was, if one or two wrong prompts are there, like I did the same thing, oh, my headache, no, it's really hurting. My head is about to explode, and it's in the middle, beyond the skull, above the skull, and I'm giving all sort of wrong prompts, because as a patient, I don't know what the right thing is. Eventually, I ended up with a brain hemorrhage. I have like brain cancer. Is that what the app told me? So that was bound
Right.
to happen, because I was trying for that, that instead of probably having a paracetamol which would probably cure my headache, I actually went on giving prompts, and I knew eventually it's like searching on Google. You keep on asking and asking, eventually every problem will lead to cancer. Oh, please go and get yourself checked. Otherwise, that the disease that you finally checked and constantly kept on reiterating, it would lead to cancer. And similarly, this happened with the brain hemorrhage only, or a brain aneurysm, what the chat GPT enabled, or AI powered healthcare app that I was trying. So it was cool to see, but that is what the gap in the market is, that
Yeah.
healthcare, can it be actually technologized in a way that you can reduce the amount of physical meetings, but you cannot completely omit it. A lot of people are
Right.
trying to say that the little problems, the most communicable colds, sneezes, the other things, normal fever, viral, that you have, can that be omitted without going to the doctor? It certainly can, but there's always this assurance that a patient would want, and they would
Yeah.
actually, we are not ready, I believe. So probably down the line, 5-10 years down the line, we might be ready, but currently we do require that little bit of physical assurance from a doctor or from a healthcare practitioner, that yes, it might only a viral, and once you go and get yourself checked. So this is how a bigger disease, any of it, starts, because you're actually thinking of, oh, it's a normal viral, it's a normal cold, could be pneumonia, could be jaundice, but do not, if you catch it early, early bird catches the worm. So in a similar way, if you get yourself checked early, there are less likelihood of a bigger disease or a more complicated disease happening to you. So I always say, okay, use your healthcare apps or your healthcare ideas into something that helps you probably reduces your doctor wait time, or probably reduces your appointment, or helps you in reaching to that destination earlier, whatever that may be. But do not think that you don't want to go to the doctor itself. Remove that notion when you're thinking about an idea that I have to understand the disease, get cured of this disease without actually seeing a doctor. So I'm very against that notion for any kind of treatment. So I'm getting these ideas a lot with the word AI now coming up really big, but I still feel in healthcare we are a little far away from here.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a great idea, I would say. But yes, of course, as you have mentioned, it will take time. But we all know that doctor and patient ratio in our country is like low. We have less number of doctors compared to the patients that we have, or I can say like population that we have.
So
So
really, if I have to correct you over here, we don't have less number of doctors. The gap is in the city and the urban and the rural population. So the doctor to the patient ratio in urban cities is very high. In Delhi, in Ahmedabad, in Bangalore, in Mumbai, the ratio is actually there are a lot of doctors and less patients. Per se, in a way. Whereas if you go to a tier 2, tier 3 city, you are going down Jabalpur, Puri, somewhere Odisha, some of the areas of Chhattisgarh or Madhya Pradesh or even Maharashtra itself, anywhere, you're going to those. The gap is there. There, the rural population, the population, doctors are not there. So the total overall ratio might be fine. We might be having 50 lakh doctors for our 140 crore population, or even 1.5 crore doctors, say one doctor for every 100 patient, whatever the ratio is. But that ratio gets skewed when you're between do a city and a rural divide. The rural, it would be one doctor per every 10,000 patients, whereas in the city it would be one doctor for every 100 patients, which is fine. So the gap becomes widespread because of that.
Right. And also, of course, like it a government decision to take on this, but we have a lot of students going abroad and doing their ABS course. And when they're coming here, they have to write an exam to clear that and then to serve India. So maybe government can, be a little bit considerate in this case, and this kind of idea that you are talking about can be a big idea along with these kind of doctors who are coming, taking a degree and coming to India.
I know a lot of people. I don't know even you will know about these countries. If I can tell you, can you guess a few countries where a lot of our students go abroad? Just take a wild guess.
I think Ukraine
Yeah.
some time ago. Yeah.
No, because of Ukraine, because when the war happened and when Indians had to be evacuated, how many, what those Indians were? They were all MBBS students, every one of them. If there were 10,000 or 20,000 Indians trapped in Ukraine, 99% of them were MBBS students, whoever.
Yeah, a funny moment happened like when that war started. My dad, seeing after those news and all, he told me like, I would have made you a doctor, made you go to Ukraine and studied there and come back.
See, Ukraine, one of these CIS countries, everything related to Russia and around the Russia. I personally know, since again in the healthcare industry, Ukraine, Georgia, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, then you go to the Caribbean islands, Bahamas, St. Lucia's, Philippines, Nepal. We have, so if I have to give you statistically, there are around 20 lakh students who are giving the NEET exam every year. And roughly, fill the form. And, I would have a rough bit of idea of the statistics. 20 lakh students are filling, 15 lakh students actually give the exam. Out of that, NEET automatically disqualifies 50% of them. 7.5 lakhs people would only qualify, students would only qualify for the exam. And out of the 7.5 lakhs, we have roughly around 1.2 lakh seats, including government, private, dental, all of that included. So the other 6 lakhs, or, even 5.5 lakhs or 6 plus lakh students are left. Apart from the 7.5 lakhs that got disqualified, who could not even qualify. This number keeps on increasing year on year. So the medical infrastructure, we only have 1.5 lakh or 1.5 lakh sorts of medical seats every year, where the government is increasing their medical college. The private medical colleges are also increasing, when you are saying they are not. But still, a lot of students who want to become doctors, are going to all these countries, like I said, even Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, Georgia, Tajikistan, You would not have even heard about these countries where people are going, and only all the Indians over there.
Recently, Philippines also has seen a
Philippines,
rise. Yeah.
I know students who have gone everywhere. There are students in
Yeah.
Bangladesh, there are students in Nepal, there are students in Philippines, there are students in all the CIS countries, all the way to even the Caribbean islands, where I'm saying Bahamas and St. Lucia's and everywhere else. A lot of us, these students go to become doctors, and then when they have to come back, obviously they have to clear the NMC exam to become certified, and that number is only 20-25%. 75% of them,
Yeah.
75 to 80% of them don't even qualify the exam and not able to become a doctor in India per se.
Yeah.
But it's again a catch 22 situation. The doctors passing through the Indian education system, or becoming getting into Indian medical colleges, they have their challenge of setting up their practice. They have to then go for an MD, and they have to see patients. So when you're saying a lot of students are taking the exam, that's completely different to the amount of doctors needed. You can get so many doctors, but then again, their cyclical pressure of them earning, the cyclical pressure of where to get to see the maximum number of patients, how to get a job in a corporate hospital. So all of that is, completely a pipeline driven thing. So it's a
Yeah.
vicious circle. What I'm trying to explain is that just by increasing the number of medical colleges will not increase, because everything the government can do its own step. But if it's a private medical college, recently when you said it's very difficult for some students to even get into a it's easy for them to get into a private medical college, but very difficult for them to pay the fees. When you have to
Hmm.
pay 10 to 15 lakhs per annum, as a, for 5.5 years or for 5 years, the fees, not everybody can afford that fees. And that is the cyclical thing I'm telling you, that you can tell private medical college to set up. They would say they had an extravagant cost to get so much of land to build the infrastructure. It's a 200 or 300 crore rupee project. How do we break even unless we charge 75 lakhs to 1 crore at least from one student, and that too for keep on going for 5 years? So the pipeline, what I'm trying to explain, setting up a medical college is probably easy. Getting students, you might seem easier. Getting doctors out of them seems easy. But when you break down the cost for everything, for the student to get in, for a medical college to set up, for it to break even, for a student to afford that much, and for the student to earn that much, after doing that, then to pursue MD, probably DM, do super specialization after that, and then become a viable doctor in terms of getting all the costs back. Are there permanent jobs? Do they earn that much? So this whole pipeline is so finely balanced right now that just by increasing one aspect will not help the pipeline. There are a lot of number of students, but there are only that much amount of colleges that can help, and then the jobs are there. They have to break even. The corporate hospitals have to get that pipeline of doctors. They can only afford few doctors. They can't afford multiple. Otherwise, everyone can keep opening 200 bedded hospitals. The hospitals also do not survive. You would see a lot of hospitals not working. They're working in losses. So it's too much. The economic pipeline is finely balanced, and there's no one solution. Just by increasing the number of hospitals, just by increasing the number of medical college, just by increasing some seats here and there, does not work, because there are too many other factors involved while we sort the situation out.
Right. You wear many hats, right? You are a speaker, you are a mentor, entrepreneur, and investor as well. So, how do you manage it all without burning out?
No, you burn out. I would not say you don't burn out. There are days
Mhm.
when your body, between mental and physical. Physically, you don't give up, because it's not that I am actually doing a lot of hard work in the sun or toiling myself away and doing something laborious. But mentally, your mind gives up a lot of time, and that's where when it picks up, is because I always want to do what I'm passionate about. I mean, again, very philosophically telling you that if you do not like what you're doing, if you're not passionful about it, and it's very difficult
Mhm.
to find your passion. But if I'm doing all those things, it's because I really like them. I really like to mentor students. I really like people talking to me about their problems and figuring out. I really like to invest into startups. I really love what am I doing, and that's the only very fair, straightforward answer, is that's the only way that I can do all these things. If there's
Right.
any hitch, if say I don't like, say, very very example, like for us, if I don't like being on podcast, and if I'm doing this not out of my own happiness, and if like for you, if you must be working somewhere, you must be doing something else, and if you're really not into it for the love of it, that you don't treat
Yeah,
that as a task. Okay, it's a task, let me just finish it off. No, unless you're really liking and you're looking forward to it. And I really look forward to all these things. That's the only way I'm not able to keep going at it. You do burn out because you're trying to juggle so many things. At the end of the day, you'll eventually feel so tired, but next day you'll be back at you'll be back at it again, because you really want to. I want
yeah,
to. I want to again go and judge all the B plan competitions. I want to go to the other entrepreneurship cells of all the colleges and mentor multiple students. I want to, go on for my probably the seventh or the eighth TED talk. So I really like talking and doing all these things, and I really like, going into the IVF business. I really want, to grow. So all those things is what I am passionate about, and that's the only thing. Even when I burn out, I can actually recharge myself with whatever activity that you like, and then go back at it again. So that's the only
right.
simple mantra to go about it.
That's true. So we all have failed in our life somewhere, sometime in our life. So, can you give us an instance like where you have failed and you bounced back again?
Oh, I failed a lot. I mean, I actually tell this to a lot of entrepreneurship
Mhm.
colleges or a lot of students that I speak to, that the only constant thing in your life is failure. The one thing that is practically guaranteed is that you will fail, probably not on your first try, then on your second try. If not on your second, then on your third. But if you're not even on your third, then there is bound that you will actually you're going to see failure some or the later point of your time. And I don't believe any person. There might be a few outliers, one in a million kind of people who have been successful from the get go. But all of us who've tried anything new, we will fail. And I believe in that philosophy that the only inevitable thing in life is not death but failure if you're trying. And I failed in my first two businesses, and this is my third business, the IVF business.
Mhm.
So apart from failure with Team Easy, and probably this is the era of 2010 to 2013. I would not say that I was under depression, but once you fail, you always have those negative feelings. You're doubting yourself. And it's not only about the money loss that you have had. You've lost your precious years. You're disheartened. You've lost time, energy, everything in those failures that you see. So, with all those negativity around me, there was only one way, that you can take that negativity, keep sulking about it, and actually take the safe decision or learn from your failures. So my only motto has always been that I will fail, and I'll again telling this to you very candidly that you will also fail, but the only thing that you can do is learn from those failures, learn
Yes,
from those mistakes, and not commit them again. There is none other than better than that. Those failures, no MBA book, no school, no teacher, no one can teach you what those failures can. And
yes,
those failures are going to be your gurus, your motivational mantras in life that can actually help you. So my failures have actually taught me a lot of things, and through those failures, I'm a better person. So going forward, nobody likes to fail, but when you fail, pick yourself up as quickly as you can, dust yourself, and then finish off your learnings from that failure. That I did this wrong. It's okay. That can happen to any one of us. You can lose crores of rupees in business. You can lose your precious, some physical injuries can happen. There can be so many worse things that can happen to you. But again, you'll see
right.
those success stories after those failures. You never see a success story, just like that. So it's always those failures that mold you into a better person. And that's what happened with me also.
Right. Yes, I always refer this era as the startup era because many young people wants to get into entrepreneurship. So what is that particular thing about entrepreneurship that no one is talking about, but everyone should know this?
So I tell this to a lot of people that everybody wants to be an entrepreneur. Everybody wants to be a risk-free entrepreneur. Everybody wants investor money to bankroll their entrepreneurship idea and be successful. Give me $1 million and I will make it work for you. So that's the easy part. Anybody can do
Yeah.
it. The difficult thing is, and if I ask you this question, so let us have this simple question, Nita, with you. Say you want to do something big and you have a good idea, and as in you've come to me as an investor, and if I say, Nita, okay, the idea is good, and I'm going to bankroll you, but I want you to.
This is true. Actually, I thought after this conversation, I'll pitch you.
So I'm going with this question that I will give you, say your house value is 1 crore, but you have to
Mhm,
mortgage that house with me, and I'll give you 2 crores for it. Even though it's 1 crore, I'm going to give you double the amount.
mhm.
Are you now willing to take the risk of giving me your house and then taking the money, instead of just asking for the money, like, like an investor, that I am valued at XXX amount and give me this or this much equity? No. But I'm going to give you the money for your house, even if the parents' house, your house. So going to that hypothetical, I'm going to give you double the money. Do you have it in you to risk your house? A true entrepreneur will actually believe in the idea and will actually risk everything, rather than the fact I can only, no, my idea is good, but I'm not ready to risk my house for it.
Yes.
That's the question that I'm trying to test every entrepreneur, that do not tell us about that we require 1 crore or $1 million or this much amount of money, and then we can for 10% equity in the startup or 20%. But all great businesses which started, we can talk multiple about Tata, the Ambanis, the Adanis, and so many people. But and when I ask this question, do you have any idea how much loan do they have on themselves? How much debt do they have on these books? Upwards of 3 lakh crores. That's the amount that they have on themselves. So if they can go forward with that much risk that they're riding on, it seems easy that you want to be an Ambani or an Adani, or, I mean, I define entrepreneurship with very one simple word.
Mhm.
Entrepreneurship is equal to risk. There's not, for me, it's very simple. The higher the risk, the greater the rewards, as they say. But
Yeah.
most of the entrepreneurs want this risk-free attitude or this risk-free life. If we get investors money, then we can certainly be successful, and most of them are trying to do that, and that's where entrepreneurship fails. Yeah, crazy valuations, crazy ideas, trying to make it work, that was not going to end result in being a successful entrepreneur. So for you to be successful, first you need to take that risk, even if you require to mortgage your house, take loans from your friends and families, get whatever means, put your life savings into the project. And if you're that passionate enough, you've probably crossed the success boundary. You're already 50% already there. The rest depends on the execution and a lot of other things. So whenever I'm meeting an entrepreneur, I'm trying to tell and I'm trying to figure that out, that how much are they willing to push themselves to achieve this greatness and to achieve this successfulness behind them. If they're not, and they're constantly playing around the money aspect of that, that once I get this investor money, once I'm able to raise this much amount of funds, and then we'll be able to do, so you'll always be riding on excuses, and there'll always be a detriment, a roadblock in front of you before crossing the next hurdle. And that's what differentiates between a great entrepreneur and a normal entrepreneur.
Right, right. Understood. So, you're involved in a lot of like futuristic technologies, for example, like AI, blockchain, and robotics. So, what is that one technology you think it is really being like overhyped?
Overhyped. I mean, when we are having this podcast, we are in the world of AI. Everything is generative AI. 3 years ago, if we were having this podcast, it could have been blockchain,
Yeah.
crypto, blockchain. That was 3 years ago, the buzzword was that. 2 or 3 years before that, if we were having this conversation, you and me, Nita, we would be talking about cloud computing and machine learning. So the buzzwords, keep on changing. And if we are talking right now, so the buzzword is AI in these days. But I always believe that the technology itself is not the disruptor. It helps you easing out the process. It is there to scale, but technology being the differentiator between anything is not. For me, all business, all startups, being customer centric is the most important thing. I don't believe in the idea that the tech product is there only to help you or me help in that product. The product, we talk about the Blinkit or the Zomatos of the world or Ola, Ubers, the tech behind them, they're just helping me to book the cab and let me see if the cab is on the way and the product is there. But is that technology? No, that's not technology. There was an operational hassle. I needed to go down the road, book a cab, and then haggle with. That was the earlier way of booking a cab. If you go to the second way of, then what was the future behind that, was if I could call a satellite taxi and will ask them that I need to go from point A to point B, and they will say, okay, sir, we'll charge you 3,000. Give us 6 hours to arrange a cab for you. And then with the advent of Google Maps came the Ubers and the Olas of the world and all the other things. So it wasn't tech. They put what are the customer needs. If I can already know that if I need to go from point A to B, it will take me 25 minutes. It's going to cost me 500 rupees. The cab will arrive in 4 minutes and 6 minutes. So these operational issues that were being there for a customer, they solve that through technology. The tech isn't
Right.
the disruptor. Whatever the customer needs is the disruptor. And that's happened. I mean, I can name you all the startups that do not think about technology being a differentiator. How can you help the customer with the technology is what makes a unicorn or a decacorn or all those fancy startup words that Airbnbs, Amazon, Apple Music, whenever all these came, they thought about the customer and how can we help the customer with our technology. So
Right.
Apple Music, there's this wonderful thing that probably in our generation, Nita, that we had to buy full CDs or cassettes, even if we like that one song, I had to go and buy the full
Mhm.
CD or everything. We did not have the option. So Apple Music thought that if I like that one song, why not pay for that one song? Instead of paying 100 rupees, if I can pay 10 rupees and listen to that one song, the customer would get that. That was a disruption by Apple Music. Similarly, Amazon did only the review and transparency. They just brought customer transparency. If you like this product, this is the reviews that you're getting, and that's as simple as that proper feedback mechanism. That's what they did. They did not say that, "Oh, I've created this technology, I've created a system about it." Everybody was doing that. But what does the customer require? So being customer centric is the most important thing which I saw. And that's where I say to all startups that use technology to help your customers, not thinking that I've created this tech product. That tech product will not be of any value because the technology keeps on evolving. You rightly asked this question, what is this thing that we are looking at today? Today we are looking at AI, yesterday we are looking at blockchain, day before yesterday we were looking at machine learning, prior to that we were looking at cloud computing. It's evolving so fast that you and me can even never keep up to it as a non-tech person. But that's where, but if you're keeping the customer in mind all the time and you're looking for creating core values around a customer, any technology, whatever it may be, you will always be successful because you have cracked the fundamental code.
Right. Great. All right. It was really an insightful conversation. And thank you so much for joining in.
Thank you, Nita, for having me over here, and thank you for being very patiently listening to me and listening to my views. It was wonderful to speak to you and have this conversation. Really glad about it, and really looking forward to the podcast.